What is a value stream? Today's flow short topic. Hi, I'm Joshua Barnes, and once again, I'm joined by Helen Beal.
Hello, lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, and what a good topic it is. This is based off of a blog post that actually Helen wrote. But maybe before we get into that, I'll say I am in Jacksonville, Florida. Helen is in the UK, and we'd love to know where you guys are at. So if you're watching this live, or even if you're watching it on replay, feel free to post where you're watching from.
And if the sun is shining.
And if the sun is shining. Surprisingly, here where I'm at in Florida, it is not shining. We've got a big rainstorm coming through, which is unusual for this time of day.
This must hardly ever happen because the sun is shining here in the UK today. It's actually not raining, so that's very cool.
So I really like this topic. I mean, I like all of our topics, but what is a value stream? And maybe before, Helen, you get into a little bit of what's in the blog post that this is based from, I'd like to share a couple of the interesting things that I've heard over time. And again, this is going to be in relation to digital value streams, or delivering software. So had an opportunity to talk with a CIO who said, well, we don't have value streams. We're not making cars. Yep. Or another time, and this was another person in a pretty senior leadership position, we have a shared services model, and therefore we have really like one value stream because we use the same people in a lot of the work, so it doesn't make sense for us to really identify anything beyond that. And another one, this was kind of recently. I had a discussion on this, and the idea of where a value stream starts, and through discussion, the position was, well, a value stream starts where the customer begins the sales process, and then continues on really what we'd consider like through the customer journey, and if they buy something and supporting them, versus going back to, well, where we have a requirement, an idea, a request, whatever, and then the flow of work that is going to be done to ultimately deliver something that is of value that can be consumed. So lots of interesting ideas on what a value stream is. So Helen, how about maybe you help clarify a bit of what a value stream is?
I think before I met Value Stream Management, when I was more DevOps and I was probably doing some value stream mapping, I used to have a tagline on the bottom of my slides, and it used to say optimizing the flow from idea to value realization. And I used to talk about that kind of life cycle, the ALM, the SDLC, quite a lot. You have an idea and you see it through till the customer has it in their hands. And then I discovered Value Stream Management, and I discovered those sort of the same thing. So I was talking about DevOps pipelines. You just talked about a manufacturing pipeline as well, by the way, which is when we build a car. I used to quite often say that a value stream is anything that delivers a product or a service, which is a really simplified way of talking about it. And that did sometimes cause confusion. And there's definitely confusion between what is a customer journey and what is a value stream. And in a future flow short, because I know we're working through the blogs, we'll hit our blog series is X value streams. So there's a whole series where we've explored whether certain things are value streams. And one of the things we do explore is whether a customer journey is a value stream. Spoiler, I don't think it is, but they're very closely related and we need to understand both of them. But The Great Transition, which is kind of my favorite tome that was published in 1995 to look back to, is like one of the originating pieces of thought that has led us to where we are today, which is this renaissance that I've talked about before that we're having with value stream management. In it, James Martin writes that a value stream is an end-to-end collection of activities that creates a result for a customer who may be the ultimate customer or an internal end user of the value stream. So this idea that it's end-to-end, so this idea that I've said, it's from idea to value realization, this idea that it's a series of activities, it's a series of steps, and therefore a series of people, and a series of processes. And this idea that there's always a customer, and it could be an internal customer, it could be an external customer, or a final consumer. So I've had similar situations to you as well, where people have said, well, we outsource that, so it's not really a value stream. It's still a value stream. You're just creating more boundaries and more silos, that's all. But yeah, so how did you respond when somebody said to you that we don't have a value stream because we've got shared services?
Yeah. So how I responded and how I often respond, and I'm going to tie this into also some of the workshop content that the VSMC has, is I like to try to identify a product or a service or something that the organization has and then start working backward from that. And so what happened prior to it being put on your sales, portal to have people buy it, or before, whatever, and kind of start working backwards and saying that's your value. That's a value stream, right? I mean, that's what it took to get from this point in this, part of the flow all the way through where something can be consumed. The other thing, something else that you said that I think people get maybe confused or is a little unclear is when you say, oh, it's either an internal or an external customer. And one of the things I do like to use, and I like to use like sales portals a lot because most people understand that. It's like, well, if we're interacting with a sales portal as an external customer and we're buying something, right, that's pretty straightforward. But an internal customer could be like a product specialist that's maintaining product descriptions and SKU numbers and reviews and that type of stuff. So internal customers can also be part of the same product that an external customer is, the work that we're doing, the type of value that we're trying to provide to them, versus it's like, well, it's just an HR system. That's where our internal customers would be, because people outside the company would never see some of that stuff. So that's a little bit.
And actually, I think the workshops you might be alluding to is the ones that we're building that align to the VSM implementation roadmap, which has its own set of steps. It's not a value stream, it's an implementation roadmap that has a step in it, which is about identifying value streams. And one of the big debates I think we all had when we built that workshop was where to start, and whether you start with a single value stream, whether you start trying to map the entire organization as a value stream network. And typically, in my experience, a lot of people's entry point into value stream management is to map a single value stream or to look at a single team, which is all very useful and very powerful. But I think what happens is, as soon as somebody starts taking a step back and thinking of their organization as a value stream network, they realize that these value streams don't run in a linear, side-by-side fashion, never connecting. What we've got, as you said, is lots of value streams that interconnect. So you get certain value streams, often the kind of platform type value streams that are shared services that serve multiple other value streams that have internal customers. And then you've got your kind of differentiating products that are the big product that you're selling to the market. And then this is where we end up starting to often talk about the different categories of value streams as well. So we end up having conversations about, in my favorite terminology is the idea of the core and the supporting value stream. And this, I think, aligns quite well with the team topologies terms as well, things like the value enabling team. So the value enabling team is the team that creates all the value. And then you've got the other teams that support that team. I think I've just got my team topologies terms wrong in my head. Sorry, Manuel and Matthew. But there is this idea of the core teams that create the value, and then the supportive teams that support the core teams. So the core teams are your teams that are supporting the external customers who are giving you the money, and then you've got your supporting value streams that are supporting all the people around that. I did put a link in our private chat, wondering if you can share it out to the audience. For the brand,
I've already got it out there.
VSM taxonomy that we've launched the first iteration of yesterday. With the consulting huddle, we've started building out basically a dictionary to help people understand these terms, and we'll do things like explore the different frameworks and methodologies that connect as well. So I probably made a complete dog's dinner just now of the team topology stuff, but I wondered how you see the team topologies definitions of the kind of organizational structures that we have and how they align to what we're talking about in VSM.
Yeah, so I typically focus on sort of 3 areas of the value adding activities within sort of the value stream spectrum. And one is what we see in sort of the digital or the development stuff, right? So the people that are going from when an investment decision's been made to the point where we're doing our development work. The other is the supporting areas of the organization. So marketing and legal and procurement, any others that are needing to participate, plus changes from an operational perspective. Like you release that new functionality. who needs to be supporting. Where we get into a lot of really great opportunities are where you've got a digital product like a self-service portal for maybe like, a bank, a financial institution, but then there's also a lot of things you potentially have to do depending on the product or service that you're going to use in a branch location. Okay? And a lot of times there is not very good coordination with those types of rollout. And it can be pretty long spans of time where it's like, oh, our system doesn't talk to the other system, or you hear all sorts of things when you go into a physical location like that. So I think that's how, from a team or a separator perspective for the type of work that I typically focus on. So similar, just slightly different.
So yeah, it's the stream-aligned team that I was talking about, which is like the value streaming team topologists. And then there's an enabling team, which is more like the supporting team. And then we actually had quite an interesting discussion yesterday. I was on one of my day-to-day DevOps webinars, and we were talking about the transition from project to product. And we were talking about project, product, and platform teams. And Bill Benson had some quite interesting stuff to say about platforms as well. So for me, a platform could be another type of value stream. It's, for me, typically a platform is something that an organization is building for internal use, like a shared service, but it's a technology platform to be used by multiple people. That it doesn't provide differentiating features, so they are providing it as a service. Is that similar to you?
Yes, it is. And I think that the other thing that I'm thinking about is the workshop that was done, and I think it was done last year. I think you and Steve ran it, where it was to identify your value stream or value streams. Is that something that might be done again this year for people that might have missed it, or new members, or hey, become a member and we've got some of these workshops that you can attend?
Yeah, so that was the one where I talked about where we had this big debate about whether value stream management should start with identifying a single value stream or a couple of value streams, or trying to visualize the entire organization as value stream network. I think I should probably remind the audience at the moment that Value Stream Management Consortium is a not-for-profit, and we're funded by our members for our members, and we are not, we're not rolling in it, we're not resource rich, so we do have limitations on the amount of work that we can do for our community. What we did do with that workshop, and what that workshop is the start of an intention, if you like, is to build workshop materials for all of the steps in the implementation roadmap and make those workshops available to all of our members to deliver in their own environments, whether that's to the enterprise in which they operate, which they're trying to elicit change, or whether the environment that they're consulting or coaching in. So our members have access to all of the workshop materials that we built, and the recorded workshop that we had as an example. At the moment, we don't have a plan to run another workshop like that, because our plan is actually to try and build the other workshops in the implementation roadmap. So if anyone's interested, we are looking for sponsors to work with us on that at the moment. So if you want to help us fund that and put some resources and put some of your thoughts on it, then please do let us know. That is in the plan. We started, if anyone's familiar, actually, I'll just put a link in for you to share as well, of the VSM implementation roadmap. It doesn't actually start at identify, but when we spoke with our consulting huddle about this, most of them said that that's where most of their clients were having most challenges with. So that's where we started. But we need to go back and do vision, and we've got our assessment now. And actually, there's an argument for doing a whole workshop about where to start and how to get yourself ready for it as well. Before we move on to the other steps around organising around value streams, mapping them. Of course, there's a huge body of knowledge around that already. And then the connecting to your digital pipelines, and then inspecting and adapting your streams as well. Long answer. But yes, if you're a member, you can get access to all those workshop materials.
Yeah, so I did post a link to the VSMC's website where it talks about memberships and a discount code for this month. So this, if you don't know it, this is VSM Awareness Month. That was the little banner we had at the bottom, FLOMO May. You can search for that hashtag, and there's all sorts of posts and information. I also shared the link, Helen, that you put in the chat for the implementation roadmap. So that is all out there for everybody to take a look at.
Awesome. Happy FLOMO May, everyone.
Happy Flomo May. And in addition to articles and things, I know there are a number of people that are participating in Flomo May, like we are. Any of our value stream management courses, I've got some foundational courses coming up over the next month or two. We're offering the biggest discount we've ever offered on any of our courses. So if you're interested, yeah, just send me a note here on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to share that with you.
Awesome.
Yeah. So next week we will be doing a flow short. Both Helen and Steve are otherwise engaged, so we will have a guest speaker attending. We will have the next flow short put out either later today or by tomorrow morning. And thank you for attending, and we hope to see you on the next one.
Thanks so much.